How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin. I'm back with another video. We got the little mini excavator here. We are finished with using it. A friend of ours let us use this machine, and we put over 500 foot of ditch in with this, maybe even more than that. Used it for about 20 hours and learned a lot about this little machine. There's some modifications I'd like to do to it, and he told me to do whatever I wanted to it. So that's what we're doing. We're going to do some modifications to this little mini excavator to make it better for him to use and anybody else that's on this machine. So one of our biggest things on this machine was when it gets stuck in the dirt and it would rock back and forth, you really don't have no support for your feet. So that's what we're working on now. We're going to put some non-skid pads down, and we're going to put some foot pegs on this thing. Foot pegs, yes, foot pegs. There is nowhere to put your feet on this thing that your foot won't slip off. So I'll get you up close. I've been cutting a little bit of steel, getting things ready to show you guys what we're going to do to make it easier to use this machine. So let's get started. Now, as you're sitting on the machine, your leg would go down here and your foot would rest right here at the bottom, and your foot would end up right in here depending on how tall you are. So the problem we had was, if you notice underneath of all this is very smooth. This is very smooth, and you can see how much your feet slide on there. It's actually wearing the paint off of it. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take a piece of this expanded metal, and we're going to weld that into place there. And right in here where your feet go, I'm going to take the roof, and we're going to lift this up. I pre-drilled some holes. We're going to slide this guy in here, so everything's going to line up with the original bolts that are already in this machine. I really don't like to weld to his machine, but if I can add a plate like this and then weld to it, I think it'll work better. And then we're going to put this foot peg right in here. It's only a little 3-inch foot peg. It's only 3 inches. And you're going to be able to hook the heel of your boot in there. And what we'll do is we'll take a piece of this expanded metal and we'll weld it down on here, and we'll bend it over the back side, and we'll weld it on there to give you a little bit more traction on this little foot peg. Nothing major. We're not doing anything major besides welding these on and building these foot pegs. And then I have another idea I'd like to do for this machine that I think would be cool. Let me show you that. Okay, now this is the thumb for this machine, and this is so you can pick up logs and different things, which I would use it for picking up big firewood and putting on a log splitter, or just brush, whatever. But they have a bolt right here. This is a bolt with a nylon bushing in it. It's a lock nut on there. I mean, if you want to move this pin from here to there so you can use this thing, or down to here, you got to get a wrench out, unbolt this, and then you can move it down. That's crazy. We're not going to do that. We're going to see if we can pull this pin out. It's a 1-inch diameter bolt. We're going to see if we can build a pin that has a clip in it so he can move this thing without getting a wrench. Nobody wants to grab a wrench. I'm in a hurry. I want to get done with the job. I want to be able to move this thing without using a wrench. So that's going to be another project we're going to work on. Okay, the next thing we're going to do after we get the foot pegs and that pin built, that's going to make life a lot easier on this machine. Keep your feet on, be able to use your thumb when you need it. But he also wants to get this through his garage door, and I think he has an 8-foot garage door. So the trick is to get this to fit through an 8-foot garage door. We're going to have to lower the roof just a little bit. So we're going to probably end up going from the top of here. We'll lay something across here, a level or something, get our distance to the floor, and I don't know exactly what his garage door needs yet. But as soon as he gets some measurements, we're going to cut this roof down, take a chunk out of here, and weld it back in. Hopefully, we'll make sure that his head space is good in there, which I seen him in there, and I do got a little video of him taking off trailer, and I think he had about 6 or 8 inches. So we can bring this top down just a little bit and not hurt it. So, but we'll see. I'm not sure whether he's going to want it done or not, but hopefully he gives me some measurements, and once it's done, we can cut the roof down. Well, I've been playing around with this thing all week after work, just a little bit at a time. I got all my pieces fabricated for the foot pegs on this thing, and everything's cut, but what I wanted to do is I had to loosen the roof. We wanted to get the roof unbolted. The gentleman that owned it actually put a bolt in here that I did not like in there, so I took it out, and what we've been doing is just taking a tap and die set, and we're rethreading these holes to make sure that these bolts fit in there really smooth and easy. Now that back one there, I might have to drill it completely out and put another one in there. I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. But what we're doing is just like I said, putting a tap down through these and rethreading them, because we're going to be using all these bolts holes when we go to put our foot pegs on, because we're going to bolt them to that. We're not going to drill any new holes. We're just going to use the holes that are already in this platform right here. Tedious little work because I can't get the right tools, the right handle for my tap here, but that's okay. We'll just take our time and we'll put a little bit of oil in it, get them rethreaded, and get them all ready for new bolts. Now when we go to put our new bolts in here, we'll be using a anti-seize on all these bolts. That way the next time they go to take them out, they'll be very easy to take out. Anytime I tear any of this stuff apart, if I was to bought this machine brand new, I would have anti-seized everything on this thing, so I know when I go to pull it apart, it's not going to be give me any trouble. Alright, as you can see, we welded some expanded metal where your 2 feet go, and this is going to help keeping your feet from sliding off of this pad. This was a big deal when my son was operating it. His feet would slide off of there, so we put a set of these on there, and we'll paint this up, and then we built the foot pegs to help also keep you from coming off the front. When you get into something hard and it breaks loose, your feet just want to slide off of it. So I think this is going to help out a lot. Okay, we got this plate painted. This is the plate that goes on the floor to cover everything. We have our foot pegs all painted up and ready to go back on. And I did have to find some more bolts. We got them. So let's get over there and I'll show you how these foot pegs go on. Now, as you can see, I have this one just bolted on here. They do tilt a little bit back towards your leg, so they're tilted that way just a little bit. This one bolt will be put in, and then I have 2 more bolts, which the roof will bolt to. Once we get these bolted on, we can take these 2 bolts out, and then we'll slide our roof bolts back over top of here and go ahead and bolt it down on top of there. That way we're not actually welding to this, or our foot pegs are not attached to the roof, they're just attached to this floorboard. So we're going to go over and put the other one on, and then we're going to get our roof set back down on. If you guys remember, I had to re-tap all these holes. to get better threads down in there, so we can put this guy together. So we're using anti-seize, and this is going to enable him to take these bolts back out whenever it's time. If he ever has to take them back out, he'll be able to get those out of there. So all we have to do is we only have to put this bolt here in. What I've been doing is I start the two back holes. I start these bolts. That way I know they're lined up. And then I can go ahead and tighten this bolt down right here. So what's nice when you rethread them, you almost can just tighten them all the way up with your bare fingers. Now I had to come up with 4 extra bolts to make sure all of these had a bolt in them, and I think we did a pretty good job because we got enough to do it all. I'll set these off to the side. Okay, now we're actually ready to put the roof down on there. I don't think that's going to be in the way, but we have some hoses underneath of this pan we need to protect, and I got to get on that also, but I think we can set this roof back down on there. Now when we put these back bolts in, we want to do the same thing. We want to put the anti-seize on them. This is going to, like I said, allow him to be able to take these bolts off later, and they won't be all seized up on him. It'll be much easier for him to get these bolts out if we do this. I don't know about you guys, but here in southwestern PA, I think it's May. Let me see what the date is. May 21st? I'm not sure. May 24th. And it's about 45 degrees outside this morning. So I actually got a fire in the wood burner behind me. The garage has pretty good insulation, so it takes a while for it to get warmed up once even the sun comes out. It's a good thing I'm a hoarder when it comes to these bolts and stuff, because otherwise I probably would never had them. These are a metric bolt, so I had a bucket in there that I don't get rid of a lot of bolts or nuts or anything like that, so in this case it helped out. We didn't have to go and buy the bolts, we already had them. So after you've had your machine for a little while, you want to go over it and check all the bolts and make sure all the bolts are tight, nothing's coming loose. It's not a bad idea. And check your hoses. Make sure your hoses are not rubbing against something that might cut your hose. So we're going to go ahead and finish tightening all these up and then get started on something else. Alright, I think we can go ahead and put this plate in also. It's done. And we're going to do the same thing with this plate. We're going to make sure we anti-seize these bolts, and that way, like I said, he can get this back off of there when he's ready. That little anti-skid on there is really going to make it nice to keep your foot from sliding. Now with the foot peg and those on there, that's going to keep your body from sliding off when you get into something hard. Now while I was doing my inspection on this machine to check it out, make sure everything was working right, I came across these couple hoses down in here. It's very hard for me to show you this, but you can see right there where my light is that these couple hoses are already scoring and taken some of the rubber off of them. There's two of them right there. This one and that one. You can see the big hunk of rubber down in there off. I don't know if you can see it. But what I came up with to fix this is I got some old hose. This is old rubber hose. We're going to strap that around every one of these lines, and we're going to put a zip tie on. I think we could just slip that around there and slide that down over where it's being cut, like so, and that's going to protect that line from getting dug into. I'd rather have this and a zip tie on there than I would have them laying right up against there. Eventually that one there is going to break. You can see it's cut in there really deep. So we want to get all these wrapped with some old hose and zip ties on them. Okay, we're in kind of a tight spot here to work, but when I get finished, I'll show you guys what it looks like when we get done. I want to try to protect every hose that I possibly can here from getting chewed up by that metal in there. Alright, so right in here, you can see these two hoses right here. You see how that's cut into that hose right there? And then this one here, it cut into it also. And that's that piece of metal right there. So I don't have any hose big enough to fit over them. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this hose and stick on the metal, slide it over there, and hopefully that will protect these two hoses from getting damaged. You can see that that's into that hose a little bit, and it's definitely into that hose also. You can see it. So we're going to try to push them over a little bit and get this piece of hose over top of that. There's not a whole lot of room in there to get those up in there, but I think we might have it there. So I think that little piece of rubber there will help keep those from getting cut into. So I think right now we have got all of them covered. We'll go around here. Everyone that was touching the, you can see it right at the end of my finger. That one was touching the metal. This one over here was touching the metal, and that one, and so on. Right across here, all these have a piece of rubber on them and a zip tie. That way they're not rubbing against that metal. That's going to make this machine last a lot longer. So we're going to go ahead and put this cover back on. I think we're finished in there. We'll be doing this the same way we did all the other bolts, putting some anti-seize on them. That way if he decides he needs to take this thing apart again, he'll be able to do it. No problem. Alright, that was at least 3 modifications that we done to this machine to make it better for operating. We went ahead and built a set of foot pegs for this machine. That way it'll keep your foot from sliding off when you hit something hard and the machine is rocking. You actually have no way to hold yourself on. We welded a couple pieces of expanded metal on the plate on the floor on both sides. We fixed his hoses where all them hoses were rubbing that piece of metal down there. We got all them covered up and protected.
And we did build the pin for the thumb, which is going to make it a lot faster. When you want to operate this thing and use the thumb, you just got to pull a pin out instead of worrying about pulling that bolt out. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to cut the roof down, but we're going to stop this video now. It's getting a little bit long, and we got a lot of work done to it. I would rather him be here when we cut this roof down. I think we're going to have to take about 2 inches off of this roof in order to get it through his garage door. There's still a lot of room above your head. It's not going to be an issue taking 2 inches off of this. You're still going to be able to get in there and operate this machine. Just make it easier for him to get it into his shop. So I would like to tell everyone, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like. Until next time.